Welcome to The Terrible Take, a daily segment telling Steeler Nation what's on our minds. I'm Melanie Friedlander. I didn't really think the Steelers were going to go to Baltimore and beat the Ravens last Sunday, but it sure would have been nice. With a win, the Steelers would have secured the division title and a home playoff game. Instead, their fate will be determined by their regular season finale, and possibly by some others as well. While head coach Mike Tomlin is known for his statements that he is only focused on the next team they face, it's nearly impossible as a fan not to look ahead, because the playoff seeding could be a major factor in whether the Steelers advance beyond the wild card round that they have already clinched. For the Ravens, it's simple. If they win their final game, they win the AFC North. If they lose and the Steelers win, the Steelers will win the division and host a home playoff game. While the Browns love to play spoiler, it's hard to imagine that the red-hot Ravens will lose to a team led by Dorian Thompson-Robinson that's missing Nick Chubb in the backfield. So for the sake of predictions, we should assume that the Ravens will unfortunately beat the Browns and win the division. With flex scheduling, the NFL will not be releasing the Week 18 schedule until the completion of Week 17 when Monday Night Football concludes. Last year, 2 games were played on Saturday and the rest on Sunday. It's obvious that when planning the timing of games, the league wants to maximize ratings, which means stacking the games in the way that creates the greatest drama. So let's look at the playoff scenarios and what that might mean for the Steelers and when they play next weekend. The Steelers are in play for the number 3, number 5, and number 6 seed, depending on how it all goes. Kansas City has already locked up the number 1 seed and a first-week bye. The Texans are fixed at the number 4 seed. Some teams fighting for a playoff spot have yet to play today, as I recorded this before the early games. Here's how I see it all going down in Week 18. It's possible that the NFL will schedule 2 NFC games for Saturday, and all the AFC games will be played on Sunday. If the Buffalo Bills somehow lose to the New York Jets today, leaving the number 2 seed still in play, and there is an AFC game on Saturday, it will likely be the Browns at the Ravens, with Baltimore putting all of their starters on the field. If the Bills win and clinch the 2nd seed today, we may not see an AFC team on Saturday at all. The early Sunday games should be planned to keep the final wildcard berth in question. If the Broncos win, which is very possible against a Chiefs team likely to be resting starters, they grab that last wildcard spot. It makes sense then to make that the later game, with the Colts and Dolphins playing at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, especially if the Colts and Dolphins win today and keep their playoff hopes alive. I could see the Chargers at Raiders being a later game, with the Chargers hoping to improve from the number 6 to the number 5 seed with a win and a Steelers loss. As far as playoff implications, that only leaves the Bengals at Steelers. It's a huge game for both teams. If the Bengals win, they can grab the number 7 seed, but only with 1 more loss each by the Broncos, Colts, and Dolphins. If the Steelers win, the worst they will get is the number 5 seed and a trip to Houston for the first round of the playoffs. Knowing how the NFL loves to play up the suspense, I predict that the Steelers will be hosting the Bengals in the early Sunday game next week, keeping that number 7 seed in suspense for as long as possible. For the players and coaches, that is the ideal schedule because it keeps the Steelers on their normal routine. And while I shouldn't be looking beyond that, it also gives them time to prepare for whoever they'll be facing next. Be sure to follow us on SteelersDepot.com and check out episodes of The Terrible Take every day at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And don't miss The Terrible Podcast with Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.